more experienced agents, their ego right now is getting in the way of their logical actions.
It's Greg Harrelson here, and of course, I'm coming at you with another episode of the Level Up podcast. I've got a great guest today. He's not only a great, kind of influencer within the real estate industry, but he's also a good friend, and we happen to cross paths on the tennis court a lot. I should say on the sidelines a lot, because our boys, our sons, are actually crossing paths and playing at a lot of the same tennis tournaments. So I want to introduce you to Adam Roach out of the Charleston, South Carolina area, but he's surely not limited to that particular, state or city. He's got a great company called I Love Coaching. It's a coaching company, but one thing I'm a little bit curious at is, Adam, it talks about it's a forward-facing coaching company. So I want to dive into that because I find that interesting. But to get started, Adam, thank you for joining me.
Greg, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here, excited to see where this goes. And yeah, our paths have never crossed on the tennis court, always on the other side of the fence, right?
Yeah, well, I'm thankful that our paths haven't crossed. I remember there was one time I saw a GoBundance text thread going on, and somebody said tennis, and I was trying to make sure you were my partner because I never wanted to be on the opposite side of the court of you. But one day maybe we'll do something.
One day we can go hit some balls. Yes, for sure.
Well, good. So I've got some thoughts. I want to talk about mindset. I want to talk about building. You built a heck of one thing that I know about you, and I'm excited to learn more about you, but I first kind of learned about how you did some amazing things at building some Keller Williams market centers. And my thought is if somebody is successful at building something like you did, you're probably going to be successful at building something else if you choose. And now you're building a coaching company. So, I want to talk about team building, maybe building brokerages and things like that for our listeners. But can you tell me what forward-facing coaching company means? Because I don't hear anybody else using that language right now.
Well, so let's go back to the real estate days. I started way out in Southern California, right? I was a tennis player. I was a teaching tennis pro, and I fell into the real estate world by meeting a lender on the beach. It was 2001, and I wound up teaching this individual tennis, and he said, "You should buy a house." I said, "I'm a tennis pro. I don't know what it even means to buy a house, right? I make cash." And he says, "Don't worry about it. They're called stated loans. So you state your income and we'll give you 100% of all the money." I was like, "Well, fantastic. I still don't even know what that means." And that was my introduction into real estate. And then fast forward to where we sit right now. So yeah, we developed amazing real estate companies in the Keller Williams world. I had a great exit of 3 of those franchises. And I really sat down and said, what's next, right? What is next? Now, my father, he was an Olympic swim coach, and I caught a lot of what he did, right? So we've all heard that saying, it's caught, not taught, right? Mm-hmm. And so I caught a lot of what he did, and he passed in 2018, right in the time that I was exiting my franchises. And so, Greg, I got to sit on the beach here in Charleston and journal for 4 days, right? That was my morning time. I took some water with me to the beach. I took a speaker and my journal and a lot of sunscreen for my bald head, and really got to the point where I saw the impact that he had on so many athletes coming to his funeral. That as I sat there and journaled and sat there and prayed and sat there and mourned and sat there and did that, it kept coming back to me. You got to build something that impacts. You got to build something that impacts. And so I had a software company at the time, and I was doing extremely well. And I thought, I'm just going to go coach those people that are using the software. I'm going to do it for free. And so I started doing that. Then I had a few coaches reach out and they say, "Hey, we want to coach with you, but we don't want to coach recruiting. We want to coach in the business space or the fitness space or the health space." We about 4 or 5 coaches came on board. And so I said, "Guys, we probably should create a little company out of this. Let's call it I Love Coaching, because we all love to coach." Now, I wasn't in the business of wanting to generate leads for them. I was more in the business of wanting to help them build bigger businesses for themselves. And so I say it's a forward coach facing company. So our company isn't geared around us going to find clients that want to get better at something. It is finding coaches that want to coach people in whatever verticals they're coaching in to be a better business owner, to be a better coach, to be a better leader, to be a better whatever it was. Because I got to see my dad do the exact same thing with all of his assistant coaches, right? And that's really where all this was born from.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember you saying something, and I don't think you explained this to me a while back. But you were talking about how you wanted, you had a big vision for how many people you wanted to reach. And it's coming to me now. I understand how you're going to execute on that vision is you're reaching so many people that are going to reach so many people. So your reach is growing exponentially. Every time you take on one new coach, then right. Technically you're reaching all the people that they're reaching. So I get it. I because when you first said it, this is probably a couple of years ago, I'm like, this is awesome. Seems like a pretty big goal, but I did not connect how you were going to do it. That's awesome.
Well, and so Greg, that number actually was not arbitrary. So again, I still don't know. I'm a faith-based guy, and I sat there on the beach and I prayed and I journaled and I cried. And I saw the impact again that my dad had on hundreds of people, and 100 million hit me. 100 million. Again, I still don't know how or why we're going to get there, but 100 million hit me. And I journaled that back in 2018. And so when I created the vision statement for the I Love Coaching Company, it is to empower coaches to change and serve 100 million people by using what we call our REAL blueprint. Now, REAL is not an arrogant term. It's an acronym. It's an acronym that I created as I thought about my being coached past and also working with other coaches. So the acronym is relevant, experiential, authentic leader is what REAL stands for. So we say that all of our coaches, when they go through our blueprint process, they become a real coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this applicable for, because one of the things that I in my real estate companies, I feel like we're a coaching company. And that's kind of like the business model that I have for my real estate companies. But in the brokerage and in ownership level, it seems that there's a lot of companies that really struggle with coaching their agents. Maybe they don't have an experience. It seems like for people that want to build a big team and be able to add value of coaching and development on their team, or somebody who owns a big brokerage that needs to bring in coaching, it seems like you would be a perfect person to go to even for that. Is that?
Yeah, we
apply, right?
Yeah, our coaches, we train the same industry, right? So again, we're always looking to help whoever it is in whatever vertical they are in to go lead their people. Yes, to go coach people, to better their people, to plus their people up, whatever it may be. And Greg, this is one thing that I'll say to the listeners is, and I see this in a lot of coaches as they come in, they have an amazing experience in their niche, in their vertical. And then they step into a coaching space, and it is incredible to see the insecurities that show up, right? The fear that shows up, or even the imposter syndrome that can show up when it is now your job to go help others in a specific space. Even though you have massive experience here, you still are a little fear-based. And I had a conversation with a guy yesterday who's going to be coming into our company, who's been in his world for 17 years and at the high of his world. And he's like, I just feel like I'm not sure I know how to coach to this. And I was like, wow, let's have that conversation. So yeah, that's what we definitely can and help coaches do, and leaders of or owners of their own company do too.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm going to switch gears because the Level Up podcast, one of the things that I've been wanting to focus on for the next couple of episodes and the last few has been mindset.
Okay.
And, and it's not necessarily the term mindset. Let's go and break that down, but how mindset shows up for us, or maybe even against us in certain areas of our business. Okay. And at least that's my mindset. It's like my mindset's either going to be showing up for me, or it's showing up. It's either a tailwind or it's a headwind. And just me acknowledging where it is at that moment helps me kind of like transition to make sure I've got it pointed in the right direction. But I'm sensing that there's a lot of fear in the real estate industry right now. Fear of whether it be interest rates or the market, less transactions, the economy, whatever it is. I don't know that everyone has their own experience with that. But I just feel like fear is causing people to maybe not take as much action as they need to take in today's market, whether it's building a team, whether it's building their own personal production. But on the side of building things, whether you're trying to build through recruiting, you're trying to build a company, you're trying to build a team, how do you feel like where does mindset show up as being a kind of a critical component to one's success in any of those areas? Hopefully that's not too general of a question, but I always, and maybe it's good if it is, because then you just answer however you want.
Well, I mean, I think the simple way to approach this, and you and I talking about this before we push record with our own boys in the mindset space, is so John Maxwell is a dear friend and a mentor and a coach of mine personally. And every year he has us go back, take our phones out, and go through every single picture that we took of that year. And he says, I want you to heart or favorite 5 to 10 to 15 of them. And then each one of those pictures that is an impactful picture, we're going to take out of that picture the lesson that we learned from that moment. So we're going to now go audit our past to bring forward into the present so that our future can say, wow, we're going to do well because of that moment. Because I do believe, Greg, that, man, we fly through life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our boys are 14 and 15. I mean, I got a picture of Addison on the tennis court holding a bottle in one hand and a racket in the other hand. He's not doing that anymore, right? Yeah. He's actually beating that, which is kind of scary. Though the mindset component is where were you, where are you, and where you're going. But if you allow yesterday's failures, if you allow yesterday's past experiences now be the driver of tomorrow's success, you're just living in the past, right?
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone that I'm coaching right now about the recruiting space. And they're an independent company. And they hired a new recruiter, and the language that they were using was, I'm just a little scared when I go into the recruiting appointment. I said, all right, well, let's break that down. Now, this is an individual that has closed over 275 transactions a year for the last 5 years and has only been in the business 7 years. So this individual has had massive success in that space, real estate. And though she said, I just feel like I could be offering more value. And so we had to break that down a little bit, but she didn't understand her own value proposition. But she was leaving that success in the past and stepping forward to recruit someone scared. When I was like, look what you did yesterday. Bring that forward, because the person you're sitting across from has no clue what happened yesterday. No clue, but you're bringing your insecurities to today for tomorrow's future, and you got to stop doing that. So, Greg, that was a lot of high macro type conversation there, language. Bringing it down is, I'm a big believer that you got to pay attention to what you are talking to yourself up here, right? That mindset, that subconscious, right? It controls us all, right? There's a great book out there called Inner Size. Instead of exercise, it's inner size. And the inner size talks about, and we've heard this many different ways, but the gorilla, right? The gorilla being your drunk monkey or whatever you want to call it, that is subconscious. And he says, if you really take a look at what the brain is supposed to do, it's supposed to, number one, keep you alive. And number two, conserve energy. So anytime there is a new thought that comes in that you haven't accomplished before, the brain is going to bring out that gorilla. This is the book now. It's going to bring out the gorilla that says, hey, listen, okay, I can keep you alive, but though I need to conserve energy. So I'm going to tell you that you're probably not going to be able to do that because we've never done it before. Yeah. And this is biology now. And since I don't know how to do it, and I know that's going to probably waste time, I'm going to tell you that you probably can't do it because you've never done it before. Yeah. Right. And so we've got to learn to control that part of the brain to simply say, you're right, I haven't done it before. And stay with me while I go through this process, because I'm going to learn how we can do this, and we're going to shrink that energy down so we don't have to waste so much energy. So, Greg, I believe mindset is first and foremost. If you're not journaling, you're holding it in. And if you're journaling, you're releasing. And if you're releasing, you can go back and audit and see, and you can watch your progression and growth. Though I believe mindset is everything.
Yeah, that was a lot. Okay, that was a lot. And I really appreciate that. Going back through it a little bit though, is so one of the things that I took away from what you said, and I'm processing, as you're speaking, I'm reflecting on maybe an agent or myself that, in the beginning, somebody may have say, hey, go make a bunch of calls. You can get some listings. And I made a bunch of calls, and let's just say I made 30 contacts that day, and I got one yes, but I got 29 no's. And out of the 29 no's, 20 of them are like, heck no.
Right.
One of them was like, don't ever call me again.
Yeah.
One was like, yes, right? And I got one yes, 29 no's. A few of them were like pretty aggressive no's. And so what I'm taking from you is like, if those were snapshots, I could take a picture of when I got the yes, and I got the pictures of the 29 no's. Tomorrow, when I'm going out to decide what activities I'm going to take, what's in my mind? Is in my mind that one picture of the yes or the 29 pictures of the no? And I think that's what I heard you say. And I'm just trying to translate it in my own mind. It's just like, hey, look, some of us are fueled. Tomorrow is being dictated by those 29 no's when we could let the one yes be what fuels us. Am I taking something away that you intend?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it also goes back to, if we continue to focus on what we don't want, we're going to get more of it, right?
Yes.
I don't want a double fault.
Yeah.
You're going to get it.
Yeah.
The brain can't hear the negative. The brain cannot hear the negative. The brain will go get whatever you tell it not to get because it can't hear the negative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break from the conversation. Are you looking to generate more listings, more closings, and gain more free time for yourself? Well, join the most effective group coaching program offered in the industry today, where you'll learn from agents like myself that do 200 plus listings per year every year. Membership includes sessions to help you master listings, improve buyer conversion, and learn what technology can help you grow your business in today's market. We also talk about virtual assistants and how to use them effectively. All of the sessions are broadcasted live, but also archived so you can watch them at any time. If you're interested, go ahead, visit realestatesalessolutions.com and get ready to grow your business. I'm your coach, Greg Harrelson. So then, okay,
now,
yeah, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, let's talk about that situation, because I believe too, Greg, that environment is important for mindset too. Who you surround yourself with really does matter. It does. So when I was running my Keller Williams franchises, I felt that. I saw that. I saw and witnessed these agents getting beat up. And I thought, great, we're going to flip this around. So we created a boiler room. Maybe 2 to 3 people, 4 to people showed up the first couple of times, and we were having a good time. So we were all standing up, right? Because I do believe that motion creates emotion. And as we're standing up, now we're all dialing. We've all got scripts out. It's kind of loud in the room, even though there's not a lot of people. But they're scared, right? They're a little afraid of what they're getting ready to get when that phone gets answered. So those are the first couple of days. Then I thought, okay, fine. We're not really measuring anything. So I got a board and we started tracking. We started tracking everything: answers, conversations, appointments set, appointments, what anyway it may be. The board wasn't really filling up. And so I could feel the deflating energy. So guys, here's what we're going to do. To come into the room, now we're like 5, 6, 7, 8 people in the room. And then we're getting to 9 and 10, but you could still feel the mindset, right? The mindset was still getting beat up. I said, to come into the room now, you have to pay $20 to come in the room. They're like, why would we want to come into a room where we know we're going to get beat up? I said, because here's what we're going to do. We're going to celebrate the no's. Whoever gets the most no's wins the pot of $20. Well, 20 plus however many people were in the room. So we'd have 10 now, 12 people, because they all wanted to try to win that lunch money, right? And so we started celebrating those no's. And here's a neat story from that. One of the guys who was in the room was mentally not prepared to go forward, though he knew that he couldn't leave the room because he had $20 on the line. He had to get as many no's as he could. And Greg, that guy now is a huge, and this was probably 5 years ago, probably 6 years ago. He's now a huge multifamily investing guy that has probably over 700 doors on the GP side because he accidentally ran into someone who wanted to sell a multifamily property and he had no clue what to do with it. And so he ran and learned how to do it. And his mindset shifted. And now he's probably a multimillionaire.
Mm-hmm.
All because he paid $20 to come in here and change his mindset.
Yeah, I've done, that's great. I love this story because, I've done some videos on that, monetizing the no.
Yes.
And, and the reality is that the no's make us way more money than the yeses. Because if you take 1 hour of time or 3 hours of time and you get 29 no's and 1 yes, then the return on your time, and that 1 yes means a commission check, and you make $8,000 on that commission check, then that means you made $8,000 for 180 minutes. So you divide that, and you know what every minute is equal in a monetary sum, an amount. Right. So all minutes are equal. So whether you got a yes or a no, your return on your time was the exact same. And so, you know what I mean? So like if we scale this out and we look at, okay, what's our return on the contacts? So you get $8,000 for 30 contacts. So then you divide whatever that will, let's say it was 3,000 for 30 contacts. So let's call that $100 per contact. So really you made $2,900 for the no's and you made $100 for the yes. I don't know. We should, like what you said, this is a game of no's.
Oh, right.
Now, this fits perfectly into today's conversation, what my intention was. That's all mental. All mental.
All mental.
And so where do you think, I just sense, I don't know, you're talking to a lot of people as I'm talking to a lot of people when it comes to agents in the business. Where are you sensing at all, like I am, and it's okay if you are not, that people are struggling right now in the business and it's really fueled by mindset? Are you experiencing that at all?
I literally just an hour ago, 35 minutes ago, finished up a coaching call with a client of mine who we got to the root of it was not hitting his peak performance because of ego, right? His ego was getting in the way of going into a different marketplace, right? So we'll take Mount Pleasant here, where I am in Charleston. South Mount Pleasant or Lower Mount Pleasant only had 290 closings this past month. North Mount Pleasant had, I think it was just north of 400. Okay, so let's just call that 700, 800, right? Roughly 700 total homes closed. So we started looking at all the other surrounding areas, and in Somerville though, there were 1,700 closings.
Yeah.
1,700 closings. The average sales price was $480, and the average sales price down here, I think, was like $900. So, but because the ego said, I can't go to $480. No way. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
He would rather have zero in the ego than go close a home for $480,000. So we had to look at that, right? We had to take a step back and we had to say, okay, let's analyze all the data. Let's also analyze you. What's specifically stopping you from not having more closings? Okay, it's the specific area you're focused on. Now, what would stop you from up there? Well, I've worked so hard to stay down here. Okay, well, what's down here? A home is a home. Well, the average sales price. Well, the average sales price. That's okay. That's fine. But the average sales price as it relates to closings is half compared to what has closed up there, where even a closing up there is going to pay you. So sure, your time value of money might diminish, but it's better than zero. So a mindset is a lot there. And again, from what I'm experiencing, Greg, just my experience here is more experienced agents, their ego right now is getting in the way of their logical actions.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. I don't think I would have said that, but I'm relating to, I see a lot of growth in the newer inexperienced agents are having much more growth than the experienced agents are having. I'm seeing experienced agents plateau and dip. And then the kind of less experienced, newer agent, they're like seeing massive growth because they don't have any past pictures to actually influence their future. And the experienced agents are like, oh, I got to work with some buyers now. I didn't really want to do that. Or I got to work the lower end now. Or I got to work the one level lower end. There's not a lot of this. There's not a lot of that. All that's just past conversation, like you said, creating your future. And the inexperienced agents don't have a past, so it's just, again, for those that are listening, we should learn from our past, but we should also leave that behind us. So, Adam, let me ask you this. What can you share with our audience when it comes to maybe a morning routine? Like, how do we put ourselves in the right state of mind day in and day out? Do you have a routine? Do you suggest a routine to make sure that we're putting ourselves in the right state of mind? Because I think we default to the negative, and we have to actually actively get to the positive. I think we do that as human beings. So how do we get to that state?
Well, I'm going to pause the mindset, and I'm going to go into habit, right? Okay. So I don't believe there's a disciplined person. I believe there's a good or great habit forming person, right? I think Gary Keller said that a long time ago, and it's really stuck with me. So I have a morning routine that is, it's okay. I'm going to give you a fun example here. Every morning I wake up, I haven't used an alarm clock in 25 years. So every morning I wake up, it's 4:47, and I look at the clock, and sure enough, regardless of time zone, I can tell myself when to wake up. And I don't know why. I think that's one of my only superpower.
Yeah.
And but here's what I do. I start with gratitude, right? So I instantly get it this morning. It's dark. I put both feet on the ground, and as I walk to the restroom, I say thanking you, thanking you, and thanking you, and thanking you. So every time my foot hits, I say thank and then a you. I've laid my clothes out from the previous the previous night. I get dressed in the dark, mouthwash goes in, I walk out, and I start my watch, and I go for a 30-minute walk every morning. By the way, I spit out that mouthwash. And I don't use my phone. I don't do anything on my phone except when I pass a church, I look at my daily devotional and I read it. And then I go for a 30-minute walk with nothing, no music, no podcast, no nothing. And that's my meditation time. That is where I get to be with myself, my thoughts, and outside. Rain or shine, I'm out there. Okay, so I go for about a 30-minute walk in my neighborhood, and then I walk to the gym. And I do the gym. Now, this year is a little bit different than years in the past. I'm doing what's called the push-up and crunch challenge, which it is a push-up and crunch for each day of the year that it is. So today was day 249. So 200. So yesterday was 248. Tomorrow will be 250.
Yes.
So that really gets me going. And then I started something after my father passed. When I walk home from the gym, I pray out loud, and then I talk to my dad out loud. And then I get home and I journal. And then I read a devotional from a book, and then I track. And so I track the number of days that I've actually gone to the gym. So today was day 298 out of 280. And so the goal is 280. And then my morning is done. So that's it. Now, here's something fascinating. That app that I was telling you about that I read the Bible. Mm-hmm. Remember this number. I was on day 623 consecutive days of reading my Bible app. Now, this is not her fault, but it may sound like her fault, but we're going to go to this. So just last week, Monday, my wife says, hey, I want to go for a walk with you. I was like, okay, great. Are you going to go with me at 5:00? And she goes, no. Let's go at like 7:00. Okay. I said, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for 2 hours, but maybe I'll just wait for you, or maybe I'll sleep in a little bit. And so I do. I get up at 5:30 and I walk outside, but I don't do my normal walk. I take my journal with me and my devotional book, and I go ahead and I walk down to the water and I read my devotional there, and I do my journaling there. And I did it out of my routine, but that was okay. Then my wife gets up, and instead of 7, it's 7:15. So I'm a little distracted from that because it's way off my time now. And we start down the routine, or start down the path, and she wants to go the opposite way that I normally go. So I normally pass the church. I say good morning to God, and I read my devotional. And so we're going for this walk and we finally get home and we're totally off and it's totally late and I'm distracted. Greg, I wake up the next morning, I do my routine and I missed reading my Bible app. It went from 623 to 1.
Oh, gosh.
So I share that story. And again, it wasn't her fault. It was mine. And what I realized was I allowed my frustration, I allowed my frustration for me then to lose focus on what was important to me at that time, which was, again, my relationship with God as I was doing my walk and being in my meditation space. And I missed it. I totally missed it. And I was like, wow, there's the power of a routine, because my brain had gotten to a point where I've gotten to an unconscious competent state that I don't even have to think about what I do in the mornings. It just happens because I've been doing it for so long. So long-winded answer there to my morning routine.
One of the things that one of my mentors, Mike Ferry, and of course Tony DeSella, who we both love dearly, one of the things that that's where I developed my routines. And one of the things that I was taught early on, before I guess this was what they were saying to get me to buy into the value and the importance of morning routines, is they just says, hey, can you find me an athlete? Just find me an athlete that's at the highest level that doesn't have a morning routine, or my interpretation was a pre-game routine. So my morning work, the game starts at 8:00. That's tip-off time for me when it comes to work. So anything before pregame, which I actually believe the pregame lasts for 3 hours prior to the game. So that's 5 to 8 is pregame, and then 8 to 11, which is lead generation, I call the game, and then 11 on is postgame. It's all the stuff, and it's the stretching, it's the ice bath, it's all the things that I got to just get done after I played the game for 3 hours, right? And I started looking at athletes like, at that time it had been Michael Jordan and people like that, Tiger Woods and whatnot, and figuring out what their pregame routine was. And it was different than you described, but it was similar to what you described. So for those of us are out there for those that are listening, hey, look, what I'm taking from Adam is like, if you're finding yourself in a little bit of a lull, maybe you're comfortable and that's making you uncomfortable. Maybe you're feeling like you're dipping in your business. You're experiencing a little bit of dip. What we believe is, and what I believe Adam is telling us is, hey, look, start with morning routine. Start with morning routine. You got a great example from Adam of what his morning routine is. Fantastic example. It doesn't have to be Adam's routine. It's going to be your routine. Just like Kobe had his routine, Michael Jordan had his routine, all these players had totally different routines, and it had nothing to do with which ones was better. It was which one worked for them. So this is perfect that what just came out, because I wanted to share something that people can take away and say, and this is a takeaway, Adam, I think you'll agree, that anyone can choose to start a routine tomorrow.
Right.
You're not telling them, hey, you need to practice your scripts and get good at really closing for the sale. That you can definitely skill up over time, but it takes time to see the results of doing something like this. Morning routine is something you can institute tomorrow and automatically start feeling good starting the game.
I'll give you a quick little example here of someone that I was working with. She had a goal to get to the gym and have a routine. Okay. So though she was failing, miserably failing. And I said, okay, well, that's too big of a goal. Going to the gym is too big of a goal. Let's make it smaller. Okay, let's make it smaller. And she's like, well, I don't understand. How do you make going to the gym smaller? I said, how often your morning routine do you put your gym clothes on? She goes, well, I don't know. I said, well, let's start there. Okay. And I want you to win your day by just putting your gym clothes on, and let's see what happens afterwards. Okay. So we tracked this and we monitored it for an entire month. 92% of the time she put her gym clothes on in a routine fashion in the morning, she went to the gym. She exercised, right? So she exercised, and that became then part of this routine. And I do believe, Greg, that I love the four areas of learning, that when you can get to that unconscious competent space of a morning routine, that then serves you. I think that's the big one. How does your morning routine serve you? And then, as you were saying, the preparation, turn that brain off, because now you're in an unconscious state of competency. It's no brain. You don't need an alarm clock anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's relieving to know that your next breakthrough can come from just shifting a routine.
Yes.
We don't really have to actually, we probably already know enough to achieve our in business, to experience the next breakthrough, to reach the goals that we've set. So we know enough. So for all of you out there, listen, your real estate IQ is already high enough to reach the level of success that you want to reach. If you're not reaching it, consider just recreating or creating a morning routine and see where that takes you.
That's good.
Adam, this is awesome, man. I knew I could count on you. I was thinking mindset, and there's a few other. Chris Heller, I'm gonna I'll take through this. You know, he and I are gonna talk about it on the lead side, about the mental side of leads and whatnot. And but you know, there was probably 5 people I text because I was like, I need somebody who can talk mindset. You were one of the 5, and you were very generous to just say, let's do it. You know, and then we'll figure out the rest later. So thank you. How do people reach you and learn more about I Love Coaching?
My pleasure, Greg. This has been a blast. And I was excited to get here because I knew what an amazing ship you would lead here. And I don't know, congratulations on all your success. I've looked up to you in the real estate space and in leadership space for many, many years. I love that we've been able to reconnect through GoBundance, but also through our boys playing tennis. So I really appreciate being on here.
Yeah.
You can find me personally on Instagram. It's just Adam R. Roach. And then the I Love Coaching, we're on Instagram as well. So it's I Love Coaching Co. And we have a big event coming up in November, yes. November 2nd and 3rd. Greg, one thing that in the business space, and as I've been in the business world for well over 20 years, is I find that in the fourth quarter, as we plan for next year, I had only planned business, right? You and I, through our GoBundance experience back in the day, we had what was called a one sheet. And the one sheet was the whole life. And so this is my 5th year of hosting a whole life business planning summit. It's called the I Love Coaching. You can go to it, ilovecoachingsummit2023.com. And this year I will have, I believe it is 11 speakers speaking on all different walks of life, from health, wealth, and relationship and leadership. John Maxwell is our keynote speaker. Garrett Gunderson will be coming in. He's written a few books on financial. We have a husband and wife who will come in that are high net worth real estate investors. My personal, what I call age-defying health doctor will be there speaking. And then I'm going to end the day. I've got a big surprise at the end of the day, though. The last day, we're going to be talking all about giving. So we're going to have a pastor come in and speak about the spiritual side of giving. We're going to have a book, Dr. Stephen Post, who wrote a book on giving. Then John Maxwell is going to speak. And I'm going to have Make-A-Wish actually come in. And we're going to talk about how to make a wish for a child. It's going to be an incredible day. So, Greg, here's what I want to do. For any of your listeners.
Say the date again. Say the date. And how would you get information?
November 2nd and 3rd. I Love Coaching Summit 2023.com. And Greg, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give to you and all the listeners a code specific to that they'll get a discount if they're listening right now.
Awesome.
I do believe, and again, I don't know when this drops, we're doing a Maxwell experience where only 20 people are going to get to have lunch with John and all of our coaches. So if they want to engage in that, there's probably 5 seats left that can do that. But again, we make this super duper affordable because I'm a big fan of creating whole opportunities for everybody, not just the elite few.
Awesome. Yep. Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, hey, man, I sure do appreciate your time. I look forward to crossing paths on the tennis court again soon, or on the sidelines. On the sidelines, we're going to have to get some jackets because it's going to be a cold winter. I'm sure we'll be on the sidelines on those cold days, but we do what we got to do.
Before.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for everybody. Hey, Adam's been a great guest. Please like, comment, make some comments. That definitely helps us out. We'll see you on the next episode of the Level Up Podcast. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Greg.